Today's recipe calls for egg yolks. We're going to be making homemade mayonnaise. We're going to make 4 different flavors, and we're going to do it all by hand. So in the background on the replay, you should have Eye of the Tiger going to keep you pumped up. You're definitely going to need it. So with that said, let's get started.
The first thing we're going to do is confit our garlic. So in a medium-sized saucepan, add 8 to 10 garlic cloves that have been peeled and the root ends have been cut off. Next, you're going to add 1 cup of canola oil. You may need to add more oil to ensure all the garlic cloves are covered. You can use any neutral tasting oil of your choice, like vegetable or sunflower oil, grapeseed oil. It's really up to you. You're going to turn your heat to a low, medium heat. We're going to slowly cook these for about 15 to 20 minutes or until our garlic cloves are nice and tender. You want them to be slightly golden in color as well. You don't want to overdo it because that'll burn the garlic and it'll turn really bitter and ruin our mayo. Now that we have our garlic going, we're going to start on our regular plain mayo first. So you're going to grab 1 large egg and crack it straight into your hand to separate the egg yolk from the whites. I find this to be the easiest method. So crack it straight into your hand and pass the yolk back and forth and let the whites run in between your fingers into a separate bowl. You can save your egg whites to make an egg white omelet or an egg white sandwich. Once you have it separated, throw your egg yolk into a large bowl. And of course, wash your fingies really well. We don't want to cross-contaminate anything. Now that you have your fingies cleaned, grab a whisk and break up your egg yolk. Next, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of distilled white vinegar. The acid in this will help cure and cook the egg yolk. You can also use pasteurized egg yolks or eggs for this. Next, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. The Dijon mustard will play a huge role in this recipe. It'll be the emulsifier to emulsify the egg yolk and oil together. Eggs are mostly made up of water, and we all know oil and water don't mix. So go ahead and give your small bowl a good scrape. Ensure that you get all that Dijon into our bowl. Then lightly whisk your face off to bring all of those ingredients together. This will make it a whole lot easier when we go to add our oil. The next thing you're going to do is grab a kitchen towel and get it nice and damp and wet with water. Once you have it damp, you're going to wrap it tight like you're about to whip somebody with it. And make a tight little circle on your workstation. This will act as a nest to prevent the bowl from moving around while we whisk with one hand and pour the oil with our other hand. This is the kind of stuff they don't teach you in home ec. Now that you have your bowl set up, we're going to start drizzling in 1 cup of canola oil. At the very start, we're going to add about 4 to 5 drops of our canola oil. Once you add the few first drops, you're going to whisk your face off to start the emulsification process. It's best to do small bits at the beginning to help start the emulsification process. If you were to dump everything in right away, it won't emulsify and come together like it should. The best method to do all of this is to add small bits of oil in at a time. So add oil and whisk your face off to bring it together. Once you notice that it's all mixed and emulsified together, add the next bit of oil. So you're going to keep doing this until all of your oil has been added and your mayo is nice and thick. Once your mayo has started to emulsify and become thick, you can start to drizzle in a nice, slow, light, steady stream of oil into your mayo. Just remember to keep whisking and don't stop. It's best to use a measuring apparatus like this that has a built-in spout. It makes the pouring process a whole lot easier. Our mayo is starting to come together. All we have to do is add the last little bit of our oil. And this is what our mayo should look like, nice and thick and holds form on our whisk. If it's too thick for you, you can add small drops of water to help thin it out, or you can even use more white distilled vinegar to help thin it out as well. Then we'll give it a taste and adjust the seasoning as needed. I suggest that you use a fine kosher salt for this, so it's easier to whisk in to our mayo. You can also add black pepper to this, or you can use white pepper so that you don't notice it. I just kept it simple and used kosher salt for this. Whisk your face off to add in your salt. Now that your mayo is seasoned as needed, we're going to throw it into a holding apparatus so we can move on to the more flavorful mayos. You can throw this into a mason jar or a small jam jar or any style of Tupperware that you have. If your lid doesn't fully cover and touch your mayo, I recommend that you throw a small layer of plastic wrap and adhere it right to the mayo so that you don't form a crust and everything stays nice and fresh. Next, we're going to start on our garlic lemon pepper mayo. This time we're going to use the eggshell to separate the yolks from the white. So crack your egg and pass the yolk in between the shells, separating the white from the yolk. Again, we're going to use 1 large egg yolk for this. Now that you have your egg yolk in your bowl, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. We'll use Dijon mustard for every single recipe. This will help, again, emulsify all of our mayos. So give it a nice scrape to ensure that you get all that mustard into your yolk. That's the same method that we used in our matcha green tea pound cake video. Now that you have all of your Dijon added to your bowl, we're going to add the zest of 1 whole lemon straight into our bowl as well. I'm using a microplane for this. You can also use a box grater or whatever you have on hand. I recommend zesting your lemon right over your bowl. The reason being is when you zest, small bits of juice and small natural sugar crystals from the lemon will fly off and go straight into the bowl, adding even more flavor to our mayo. You can also zest your lemon on a cutting board and let it dry out a bit and give it a quick mince before you add it to your bowl if you wish. Do your best not to get any of the white stuff, also known as the pith. This stuff is nice and bitter and we don't want that. Next, we're going to microplane 2 large garlic cloves right into our bowl. If you don't have a microplane, you can also mince your garlic nice and fine and add it straight into your mayo as well. And if you've never worked with a microplane, you want to give it a nice tap to break everything loose and run your finger down the back of it to knock everything into your bowl. Once everything has been added, give it a slight whisk to bring all of your ingredients together before we add our lemon juice. Next, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I used about half of a large lemon for this. You can use a juicer or you can do this by hand. I did the hand method, and if you do this, you want to cup it to catch all of the lemon seeds. Once you have all the seeds, give it a good shake to get all that juice off and give the seeds a toss. Then lightly whisk your face off to bring everything together before we add our oil. We're substituting the white distilled vinegar for lemon juice for this recipe. Once you have your lemon juice added, we're going to start to slowly drizzle in 1 cup of canola oil. We're going to do the same method like we did for the first one. Add a few drops in at a time and whisk your face off to start the emulsification process. I kept canola oil for every single recipe. You can also use any other neutral flavor tasting oil of your liking. Avocado oil, vegetable oil, or sunflower oil. It's really up to you. You can make all 4 of these mayos and use different oils for every single one and play Goldilocks to see which one your favorite one is. If you don't want to do this by hand, you can easily make this mayo with an immersion blender, or also known as a stick blender. That'll speed up the process and make it a whole lot easier. It's the same process of whisking and slowly drizzling in your oil. Now add the last bit of your oil, and it should be nice and thick like this. Now give it the old taste test and adjust the seasoning as needed. And since this is a garlic lemon pepper mayo, you really want to hook it up with the pepper. There's no set amount of what you need to add, so add as much as you would like. I use fresh ground black pepper because it'll give it a better flavor and taste, and it helps release some of that natural oils that peppercorns hold. So give that a whisk to bring everything together. And give it another taste. And I wanted more of a lemon flavor, so I added some more lemon juice. Play around with the lemon juice and black pepper to find the perfect balance for your mayo. And the more lemon juice you add, the more it will thin out your mayo. Just a pro tip. Now that it tastes like all that you hoped and dreamed of, go ahead and throw it in a holding device and throw it in the fridge so we can move on to the next mayo. And if you're using a jar like this, it helps to tap it on the table like so. This will help release some of the air bubbles that get trapped so you can add more to your jar. Next, we're going to check on our garlic cloves. So go ahead and fish one out and check it with your fingies. If it smushes easily in your fingers, then you know it's done. You can also use a knife to pierce it, and if the knife goes through really easy, then you know it's done. Now that your garlic cloves are done, grab a small strainer and a measuring device and throw your garlic cloves into your strainer so we can let all the oil slowly drain off. Then we're going to pour our oil right into our measuring device. We're going to let our oil and garlic cloves completely cool down before we make our mayo. we're going to use our garlic infused oil to make our Confit garlic mayo. So you want to ensure that everything is nice and completely cool and at room temperature, because if we add any hot liquid to our egg yolk, then we're going to essentially make scrambled eggs, and that's not what we're going for. Now that our garlic has completely cooled down, we're going to throw everything right onto a cutting board and start mincing our garlic into nice small pieces. This is going to be tough because they're going to be oily. I just left everything in a small bunch and gave it a rough mince. So go through and mince it a couple times each way. Now that your garlic is nice and minced, you're going to clean your blade off and make a small mound of garlic right on your cutting board. Then you're going to take your knife and lay it completely flat onto your garlic mound and press in your garlic straight into the cutting board to help make a paste. You want to ensure that your blade is nice and flat against the cutting board. You can add a few pinches of kosher salt to act as an abrasive to make your paste even finer. Then we'll run through and mince it again. This will help ensure that we get a nice garlic paste, which will make it a whole lot better and easier to whisk it into our mayo, ensuring that everything is nice and even flavored. And your garlic paste should look something roughly like this. Now that you have your garlic paste, we're going to add it to our large mixing bowl. You want to use a large bowl for all of these recipes. It makes the whisking process a whole lot easier. Then again, we're going to crack one large egg. You want to crack your egg on a flat surface. This will help give it a nice even break and prevent us from getting any shells or breaking the egg yolk. We're going to use the shell method again, passing it back and forth a few times, letting all the egg whites run off. The word on the street is that the egg shells hold all the salmonella. I don't know how true it is, so use whatever method that you feel most comfortable with. We used both of these methods in the asparagus fries. Those came out really good, and this mayo would be perfect with those as well. So give that video a look. You'll enjoy it. Once you have your egg yolk, go ahead and throw it in your bowl with your garlic paste. Then set up your towel nest. We used the towel nest in our broccoli salad video, so if you haven't seen that one, you should go definitely check that one out as well. Next, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Next, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of white distilled vinegar. You can swap out the vinegar for lemon juice if you choose. Then lightly whisk your face off to bring all of these ingredients together. And like we did with all of the other recipes, we're going to slowly drizzle in 1 cup of canola oil. This is the same canola oil that we use to confit our garlic. It's best to use the Confit garlic oil because it'll add even more garlic flavor to our mayo, which in turn will make it even more delicious. I don't recommend using an extra virgin olive oil when you confit your garlic cloves, just because heat turns the extra virgin olive oil bitter, and it's really disgusting, trust me. You don't want to waste good oil on something like that. And confit basically means cooking anything in a fat and you slowly cook it. This one would be perfect to use in a food processor. That way you don't have to make the garlic paste. Start with all of your ingredients except the oil, turn it on, and slowly drizzle in your oil. Now that you've added all of your oil, we'll give it the quick taste test and adjust the seasoning as needed. When you're making mayo, salt will be your best friend. It'll help bring out all of the flavors from all the ingredients that you add to your mayo. So don't be afraid to add salt. Of course, start with small bits because you can add more, you can never take out. So add a little bit, taste it, add a little bit. Now that it's seasoned to your liking, go ahead and throw it in a device that holds things so we can move on to the last and final mayo. By the time you're done making all these recipes, you're gonna be like Popeye the Sailor, just in one arm though. Now for our last and final one, crack the egg right into your hand like we did for the first one, passing it back and forth, letting the egg whites run in between your little fingies, just so that you're left with the egg yolk. Throw it in your bowl. We're gonna make a sriracha lime mayo. Give your ball catchers a nice clean so we don't cross-contaminate anything. Now to our 1 large egg yolk, we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Next to our bowl, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of sriracha. If you don't enjoy sriracha, you can use any other hot sauce that you enjoy. And a little fun fact for you, even though the bottle of sriracha looks nice and cool and foreign, it's actually made in California. So if you're ever playing trivia, you're welcome. And give your spatula a nice thorough clean to get all that spicy boy flavor off. The next ingredient we're going to add to our bowl is a 1/2 teaspoon of light soy sauce. This will help bring a nice umami flavor to our sriracha lime mayo. Next, we're going to microplane 2 large garlic cloves straight into our bowl. This is the same method that we used for our garlic lemon pepper mayo. If you don't have a microplane, you can also mince your garlic with a knife on a cutting board into very small pieces and add it straight into your mayo after that. Now that you've added all of your garlic, we're going to add the zest of 1 medium lime straight into our bowl as well. If you're using a microplane, it's best to use this exact method. This helps give you a bird's eye view of what your lime looks like when you zest it. This will help ensure that you don't zest any of that white pith into your mayo. And of course the pith is bitter and we don't want that in our mayo. After your lime has been zested, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of lime juice into our bowl. You don't have to worry about any seeds on this one, so juice it right into your bowl. You can do this by hand or you can also use a juicer. Once everything is added, we're going to start to drizzle in 1 cup of canola oil for the very last time. If you want to skip doing this by hand, you can easily do this in a blender. Add all of your ingredients into your blender except your oil. Turn it on and slowly drizzle in your oil. I'm so glad this is the last one. My arm's really getting tired. I'm so glad I have the Eye of the Tiger playing in the background to really pump me up. If you wanted to get real crazy with it, you can swap out a little bit of that canola oil with some toasted sesame oil to give it more of an Asian style flavor of mayo. This mayo may take a little bit more oil than a cup, maybe another teaspoon and a half to a tablespoon, just because there's more liquid with the sriracha and the light soy sauce. So you may need to add more in the end, but it's really up to you on how thick you want this mayo to be. If your arm's not quite ready to fall off and do all this whisking, you can easily warm it up and make my homemade whipped cream recipe. That involves some whisking, but it's a lot less and a lot easier than this. Then give it the old taste-a-roo and adjust the seasoning as needed. I added a few more pinches of salt. You can also add some more lime juice or some more sriracha or even more soy sauce if you choose to. Next, grab 4 tasting spoons so we can try all of our mayos. And here's the finished product of all of our mayos. The mayo gods would be proud because we did them all by hand. They don't exist, but if they did, they would be proud.
Alright, now that we're finally done with making all of our mayos and I've broken a sweat, we're going to give them a shot. So the consistency on all of them came out nice and thick, just like a mayo should be. First, we're going to try our basic plain mayo. Super rich in flavor, it's fatty, a little salty, but then the acid from the vinegar and the Dijon help cut through all that fat and richness of it. This would be perfect for potato salad. It's good. Next, let's try our sriracha mayo. It's also nice and rich and fatty, but then that lime zest helps cut through all that fat and the richness. Then that sriracha adds a little spiciness and it comes on slowly. So you can add more sriracha to make it even more spicy, but I think it's nice and perfect. Kind of creeps up on you. Then that soy sauce helps round all of it out, adds another flavor profile. Makes it really delicious. This would be perfect for anything tempura, like some tempura shrimp or some tempura fried vegetables. Anything like that would be so delicious with this stuff. Next, let's try our lemon pepper mayo. So the lemon really punches you in the face on this one. It's bright, it's fresh, it's acidic, and then that fresh ground black pepper adds some freshness and some spiciness to it, and then you get that faint garlic flavor to it to help round it all out. This would be perfect on a BLT. Next, let's try our garlic confit mayo. This is super bomb. I love garlic. It's basically good in everything. This is by far my favorite mayo that we made today for sure. Confit it like we did helps add another flavor profile and add some more richness to it. This mayo would be perfect with some French fries. Alright, that's it for today's video. This recipe is super simple and it's way better than any of that junk you could buy at the store. Pair this with a homemade ketchup to make a special sauce for your burgers or for your fries. And you can throw pretty much anything at these and have so many different flavors of mayo at any time. It's really up to you. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a like and also find me on Instagram at TaylorMakes92. I think I'm gonna go ice both of my wings. They're pretty tired from all that whisking. So we'll see you on the next one. Now that all of our mayos are done and we've made like 10 gallons and I've broken a sweat, let's give them a shot. We're gonna... No, I don't know. So this lemon... No. Alright, now that all of our mayos are done and I've broken a sweat, now we have like 10 gallons of mayo. For what reason? Nobody knows. This one is so delicious. Garlic is so good in pretty much everything. Yes, yes, yes. You can pair this with some homemade ketchup and make a special sauce for your burgers or your fries or whatever else you eat special sauce with. It's really up to you. I don't know what I'm saying. And also, it's called aioli, not aioli. That's a whole totally different thing. So with enough said, karate, hacha. Man, I have so much mayo, I don't even know what I'm gonna do with it all. Also, down in the comments, let me know which one your favorite mayo is, or if you came up with any ideas of your own. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say.